All right, here's my audience. There are the 10 people. All right. If the human brain were so simple that we could understand it, we would be so simple that we couldn't. This is a quote by Emerson M. Pugh. He is a famous scientist. Today I will be informing you about the anatomy and the functions of the human brain. Everyone in this room has a brain. Whether it's being used right now, you still have one. So first I'll begin with the anatomy of the brain. I will then inform you of the different sections and what they are named. And finally, I will talk about the functions of each of these different sections here. There are many different areas of the brain. To break it down, your brain is made up of two regions, the cerebral cortex and the cerebellum. The cerebral cortex being in the front and the cerebellum being in the back. You can break this down even further. Within the cerebral cortex, there are 4 different lobes. You have the frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal lobes. And then the cerebellum sits independently in the back. Now, to better understand my visual aid, which I got from Human Anatomy for Dummies, these are each of the sections along with their names. And each of these sections are color-coded for better understanding of the sections. And so as I go through these and name off all of the names, just think about what their functions might consist of. So I'll begin with section 1 and go to section 14. So section 1 is known as the visual area, 2 is the association area, and 3 is motor function area. The next section we have is, the next section is 4, and we have Broca's area, 5 is the auditory area, and 6 is the emotional area. Following is 7, which is the sensory association area, 8 is the olfactory area, and 9 is the sensory area. Then we have 10, which is the somatosensory area, and 11, which is Wernicke's area. 12 is the motor function area, and 13 being the higher mental functions area. Lastly, we have section 14, which is located within the cerebellum and is known as the motor functions. Next, you'll see that these names coincide with their functions, and it certainly helps when you're asked to memorize each of these and what they do. In the textbook titled Anatomy and Physiology, an Integrative Approach, the 3rd edition, is where I found what each section of the brain is responsible for. Once again, I'll start with Area 1 and I'll move to 14 through my visual aid. Area 1 processes visual information. Area 2 receives input from the primary regions around it and associates it with memories. Area 3 is concerned with voluntary motor functions, including concentration, verbal communication, decision-making, planning, and personality. Next is Area 4, which is responsible for regulating breathing and controlling the movements needed for vocalization, as I am doing now. Area 5 receives the processes, auditory information, and Area 6 regulates behaviors and emotions that we experience every day. We are more than halfway through this learning what each of the sections means, so are we all still following along? Great, okay. We'll continue. Area 7 analyzes and interprets the sensory experiences that we have. Area 8 contributes conscious awareness of smells, and Area 9 detects sensation within our joints, muscles, and our skin. Area 10, it allows us to identify an object without seeing it by the texture, temperature, pressure, and the shape of the object. If we continue on to 11, it is responsible for understanding and comprehending the spoken or written language. Area 12 coordinates learning and skilled motor activities like muscle memory. And it helps when you're reading your eyes. It helps your eyes move to follow the words. Area 13 involves judgment, concentration, and creativity. And last but not least, which is located in the cerebellum, this area is in charge of fine motor skills and muscle memory. So for a basketball shot, it's just repetitive motion. Your brain is retaining that information. So this information might be a lot to take in, but think, you use more than one of these sections in this 5 minutes simultaneously. Our brains are amazing parts of our bodies. And with our brains, we now have learned the anatomy of the brain, where the sections are located and their names along with the functions. Everyone has a brain, and we learned that it is not simple, for if it was simple, we would be simple people. Thank you. All right. Here's the audience.